Hi, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing a viewer request topic and looking at the question, how can I balance the masculine and feminine energies within myself? So thank you to the viewer who recommended this topic. I think this is going to be a very interesting and insightful video, hopefully for many of you, several of you, even just one of you. I'm not going to be doing this as a pick a card. I'm going to do this instead as just a general reading. I will be pulling some cards, but I'm also going to be touching upon my own personal kind of methods and practices as far as exploring that idea of balance and seeking to achieve and kind of maintain and work with that ever-changing balance within myself and within my own life. So to start with, I wanted to just give a brief overview of the idea of masculine and feminine energies. We all hold masculine and feminine energies within ourselves. These energies have nothing to do with gender. It has nothing to do with biology. It has nothing to do with the way that you identify yourself as a divine masculine or a divine feminine. These energies within self can be thought of almost like the analogy of a battery that has both a positive and a negative charge. And it is these two charges, these two fields working together that create kind of that functioning power center of the battery or of the battery pack. So the feminine energy can best be understood in just a very general kind of blanket sense as receptive energy, introspective energy, energy that almost absorbs or takes in, versus masculine energy, which is more of an extroverted energy, an outward energy. It's an action energy, a projecting energy. It pushes forward. So again, we all hold within us both faces of that same concept of energy. And at different stages of our life, just different kind of times, different circumstances, this can even kind of fluctuate throughout the day. Or depending on the people that we're surrounded with, it can change with our mood, with the time of our life that we are in, the phase of our healing journey that we're in, the specific tasks or just activities that we are engaged in. We all sort of flow and fluctuate between those two kind of polarities. And then even further beyond that idea of duality, there is also the embodiment of both the light and shadow aspect of each of those. So it's almost like a 4-pack of polarities, kind of in the feminine aspect, we all hold both the light and shadow, kind of the distortion and the healed version of that feminine energy, that introspective energy, that energy that sort of takes in and digests and is intuitive and is knowing. We also hold within us that light and shadow of the masculine polarity of energies, that distorted as well as that healed version of kind of that action-oriented, the outward focused, the energy of momentum, the energy of the push, the energy of something that is expelled or is projected outward. We hold all of that within us. And so coming to a deeper sort of understanding of who we are as individuals, we must explore all of those facets of ourself. It is really very crucial on our healing journey. And it also helps us to kind of be able to maintain a greater balance between the duality that exists in terms of our ways of moving through the world and even our relationships with other people. This balance between boundaries and compassion, learning to create a structure for ourselves, which begins very much internally, between parts of ourself that we allow to be expressed more to the forefront versus parts of ourself that we understand we inhabit from time to time. These things exist within us, and yet maybe at certain points before our conscious awareness, that these aspects of self, these can be wounds, these can be triggers, these can be kind of the programming or the conditioning, the way we have been sort of told that we are, that we've been expected to be, these sort of unconscious, these unknown parts of ourself that really maneuver and sort of dictate our actions, how much we give, how much we hold back, what we yield, what we allow within ourselves, what we forfeit, what we ask for ourselves and of ourselves. And so it's a full knowing of kind of the deficits and the strengths within ourself, from that idea of almost like a quadrilateral perspective, you know, the totality of four parts of a duality that really helps us to come into the state of maintaining, achieving, and striving for the fluidity of balance. As much as we become self-aware, self-informed, again, that it doesn't change. We're different circumstances, different people we are interacting with, different stages of our lives. We will inhabit to a greater or lesser degree those different faces within ourselves. And so the idea, just very broadly, of the balancing of the masculine and feminine polarities within self begins first and foremost with investigative work, learning oneself, identifying one's patterns, almost, you know, taking kind of a survey or a deep sort of understanding and awareness, some of which is observational. Other bits of this is kind of discovered situationally when things are triggered, when we, you know, encounter people that sort of challenge or even bring out some of these aspects of self. And that by stepping back and observing ourselves, we are able to then take note of these patterns. And it is something that as they emerge over the course of time, we are able to then better navigate. Are we responding or are we reacting? Are we standing in our truth, or are we dimming ourselves in order to make others feel comfortable or to fit into our circumstances? So this idea of the balancing of the masculine and feminine polarities within self, again, this is not a fixed state. This is an ever-evolving state, just like the healing journey. It can be looked at much in the same way as kind of like peeling the layers of an onion. You circle around a lot of this, come to an understanding, only to have this resurface in a different form, in a different manner, at a future point in time. But it is once that kind of mechanism of self-observation has been activated, and it is something which is, again, not looked at as a destination point, but it becomes part of just the overall kind of energetic maintenance, the energetic health and well-being that creates homeostasis and a greater sense for ourself, that truly knowledge of self, the knowing of self, that helps us to really know and to navigate and to be able to understand others better. By operating with a sense of boundaries and compassion within ourselves, we are better able to then operate in the world and with others in that state of kind of that fluid dynamic of boundaries and compassion. So one of the ways that we can really kind of work on this is, and for me personally, you know, it manifests differently, and there are different kind of ways of sort of tapping into that kind of masculine and feminine sort of polarity. But a good way to sort of start with things is to looking at it in terms of the chakra tree, the main 7 chakras, which I have laid out crystals here to represent each of those chakra systems. So I'll just go over these very briefly. And that can help you kind of get an understanding intuitively, anything that comes through for you beyond sort of what I'm channeling and what I'm sharing. That can be a really great place to start with this for you and within yourself. Because another caveat in this video is that, you know, as unique as we all are as individuals, we all come with our own kind of life experiences. You know, just like everybody has their own kind of dietary needs, their own sort of nutritional needs, maybe even deficiencies in certain areas. This idea of the balance of the masculine and feminine polarities within self, it is going to be very unique to everyone as an individual. So everything that comes through in this reading, I mean, it's like anything really in tarot and in life, just take what works and leave the rest behind. Anything that kind of resonates with you that comes through, that might be something for you as the individual to explore further. Maybe some of what you hear, what you kind of see in this video, it inspires you. It kind of you know, creates that aperture to something else that you might try that is not what I've suggested here. That can be that sign, that inner knowing that for you as the individual, that would be kind of bringing you down that same path to that place of, again, sort of the fluidity of balance, this ever evolving concept of the balance of the masculine and feminine polarities within self. So this is, again, just a kind of a rough framework. And I do encourage you to just, kind of use your imagination, really trust in that, research beyond this. Definitely it's kind of a think outside of the box approach is what is necessary in this. It's something which changes. It's something which, as you kind of work on healing and sort of balancing aspects of self using one particular modality, using one particular approach or mindset. Sometimes there's an expiration date on that. It works to accomplish one goal and is another area of kind of consideration, or even something which is blocked or something which is kind of deficient within you, or maybe has been overcompensated for that needs to be kind of tempered down. When that surfaces, it may be a different approach. It may be a different modality. I definitely encourage people, and I utilize this within my own practice, to kind of weave something together that is very much caters to you as the individual. It's always good to inform ourselves of what other people are doing, almost like taking a survey, taking in lots of information, lots of different practices, lots of different methods, and crafting something for yourself that feels right for you as the individual. It doesn't matter if it resonates with other people. It doesn't matter if other people are doing this. It's what works for you. What is your intuition guiding you toward? What are you experiencing results with? Maybe you're on to something that can help other people. Maybe it's just something that, again, based on who you are very uniquely, your own unique energy, your own unique experiences, that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, but it's something where, part of that kind of task or challenge of really stepping into one's own autonomy, knowing oneself, is the ability to, and the courage to kind of color outside the lines, so to speak, to step outside of that box, to take inspiration from the words and kind of the methods of others, and really craft and create something that is very unique to yourself, and also, is kind of looked at as not being a fixed state reality, but something that the nature of its fixed state is its fluidity. It is its ability to change. It is your openness to being willing to sort of release practices or beliefs that don't serve anymore, and kind of introducing new things that might better serve you for a period of time, or serve kind of who you have become or who you are striving to be. So just very generally then, to start with kind of these stones in the chakra tree. Got this red jasper here, red being the root chakra. And this really ties into kind of one's sense of comfort within one's own skin. It's the idea of I am safe, I am well, my material needs are being met. And so this can really present itself in kind of a distorted energy of acquisitiveness, also a lack mentality. And so ways to kind of bring that more into balance is gratitude. That is a very, it sounds very simple, and it's a very basic way of looking around, even if you have very little, even if times are very dark or very difficult. There's something. You have your heartbeat, you have your breath. If you have access to clean food and water, if you have shelter in any form, you have clothing on your body. These are all things to be grateful for. Being very present, being very rooted in the moment, kind of taking yourself out of sort of the idea of kind of the wide range of what you're hoping to accomplish, and looking very much at the immediate kind of present moment. I am safe, I am secure, I am here, and I am now. These are very kind of basic and yet fundamental mantras, and kind of that foundation that you can set for yourself in order to really create that that place of rootedness. This is almost reminding me of like Three of Pentacles is what's really coming through. That idea of the firm foundation, the idea of co-creation, the relationships in your life that are going well, people who, really have your best interest in mind, even gratitude for the people that challenge you, because they open you up for the opportunity to learn both your strengths and your weaknesses, to rise beyond kind of a version of self. All of that can be part of this feminine and masculine sort of polarity within self that is brought into a place of balance, being very, again, observant, mindful, introspective of what you have, gifts and kind of the blessings that surround you, and also these kind of intangible realities within, these qualities within, even just your life force energy in general. That will to live. These are things to all be grateful for. And by taking that point of kind of mindfulness, you help to really bring that into a state of balance for yourself. The next one we have is the orange calcite, and orange is the sacral chakra, and this is really our creative center. This is the I can, I do, I create kind of energy right here. And acts of creation definitely vary. That can be, creating literally a human life. Whether you are a biological male or a biological female, you can parent a child, you can father a child, you can give birth to a child. Creativity, it goes beyond that as well. There's creativity when you are creating something, when you make a meal, when you make a work of art, when you make a resolution for yourself, when you make a plan of action and you follow that through. This is definitely the place within self. You can create friendships, you can create stronger bonds with your family. Again, kind of building off of that point of gratitude, that point of rootedness, working then up to this state of creativity, to understand your unlimited potential, to take the raw materials of the circumstances you have, as dark as things may seem, as meager as things may seem, as hopeless as things may seem. There's also always the opportunity to do better, to be better, to plan for better, to make small changes, small steps, to create in the very moment this idea of abundance, to shift that internal reality and that mindset, which then ripples out in the energy you are projecting to the world around you, helping you thus magnetize in opportunities, people, and circumstances that align you with kind of that plan of action you are seeking to create. The next stone that we have is this yellow calcite, and this is solar plexus chakra energy. This is really the seat of empowerment within kind of the lower chakras. It is the ignition. It is that kind of, the engine has really fired up. If you imagine kind of, and with the analogy of a car, you turn that engine over with the root chakra. It's that initial kind of spark to life. You're allowing that engine to sort of warm up with the sacral chakra. It's cold weather outside, and you have to really get those pistons firing. You have to kind of get all the fluids moving through, and you have to get everything kind of in this place of symbiosis. The solar plexus chakra is that go time energy. It is that I have a direction mapped out and I go for that. It is very much the energy of seeking. It is very much the energy of confidence. It is standing in that place of, not that this is just you're giving yourself the pep talk within. You're looking around and you've got these raw materials and you've got that plan of action and you're setting that intention. This is taking those steps in order to meet the universe halfway. It is coming out of an energy of passivity and into action oriented. And so this is really speaking to this, again, this idea of I am capable, I can, I do, and I will. And following that through, not just allowing that to kind of sit and simmer within yourself, but being open and available and seizing opportunities as they present themselves. Patience to me is also really an element here of this solar plexus chakra energy. So learning to kind of wait for the opportunities, not just leaping at the first thing that presents itself, but really having this kind of energy of discernment, recognizing that what is meant for you will not pass you by. And understanding that, all is in kind of divine order, really trusting in those kind of mechanisms within yourself and external to yourself to give those cues and those signals about things to act upon. This can even talk about, parts of yourself that no longer serve you. This is that willingness and that ability to choose a different route, where maybe you had a tendency to people please. You have now established barriers and boundaries. This is that firm acknowledgement of your own value and your own worth, and putting that into practical application in how you are dealing with others, new people you meet, people from the past who may try to resurface. This is a fearless energy right here. And it really ties in with this element of kind of safety and creativity, understanding that, based on this very unique vibration that you have, you are really capable of what you set your mind to. Period. No exceptions to that rule, and that it might be a circuitous route that you kind of reach that goal by. It may, in a general sense, kind of that theme, that goal that you are seeking may present itself in a very different package. But this is a determination. This is, a tenacity energy right here that is both, open to the knowing of receptivity and also is willing and able to kind of take the steps necessary to get that, to seize moments. We move then further up to this green fluorite, and this represents the heart chakra. So this can talk about, that openness, that ability to give and receive love. This is the center of kind of that intuitive knowing. We often think of intuition as kind of stemming from the third eye, but it is really the heart, which is that lantern within us, that is that North Star energy that really kind of, it knows the way. This is where, it's kind of our best laid plans, as we have really kind of set these things in motion, the sense of self, the sense of confidence, the sense of knowing. When we have activated these elements of ourself, we are then, and we open ourselves up to really trusting in kind of where we are guided, the direction in which we are moving. This is the eye on the prize. This is the part of ourself that is able to see beyond kind of the distortions and the illusions we are presented with, to move into this space of this and that are true. This is that beacon. This is what we radiate out that allows, others that kind of resonate or are in alignment with kind of our highest good to find us and to reach us. This is the space of empathy. This is the space of compassion. This is that space within ourself that houses our own personal truth. This is where that kind of light that we emanate shines from, is that heart space. When it is open and functioning optimally, we love ourselves, and by loving ourselves, we are then stepping into a greater capacity to love others. We do not limit ourselves based on kind of what we have experienced in the past as far as disappointments in love, but we open ourselves up to new beginnings, to a story that is able to be rewritten for ourselves. We are optimistic, we are hopeful, and yet at the same time, we are very cognizant of kind of the telltale signs to watch out for that can lead to sort of a repeat of loops of patterns that we are seeking to kind of transcend and outgrow. We become cognizant of patterns within ourselves, hold those things in a space of compassion, but at the same time are courageous enough to kind of set those boundaries that, we wish to endeavor in a new direction. We wish to experience something new, something different. We love those parts of ourselves that may have settled for less or may have compromised, but those are no longer in the driver's seat of our life. So this can definitely best be described as the I feel, and I would also call this the I know center, because when we operate from the heart, when we are moving in accordance with the heart, we steer ourselves ultimately, again, perhaps through a circuitous route, ultimately in the right direction. The next one we have is this lapis lazuli, and this represents the throat chakra. So this is really that place of communication. This is our authenticity. This is the I am energy. This is the energy of, being very respectful and mindful of others' feelings, but at the same time very respectful and mindful of our own need to be expressed in our most authentic self. This is where, again, that idea of compassion and boundaries that comes from. This is the place where we have the courage to say yes and also the courage to say no. This is the place, it is in the throat, but this definitely, it relates to all kinds of creative expression. This can be things that we make with our hands. This is kind of the energy that we project upon others. This is what we allow into our life. This is what we open the door to and what we close the door to. All of this, it really speaks volumes. The idea of actions speak louder than words. By bringing this chakra, this center, into a place of balance, we both are expressing and kind of teaching people how to treat us through what we are tolerating, what we are allowing into our lives, and what we are kind of moving beyond or kind of saying no thank you to. This area of communication, it again goes beyond words. Although words are very powerful, words are that personal truth. This can also talk about kind of the stories that we tell ourselves, the narratives that we tell ourselves. This can often be a chakra that is filled with a lot of distortion. The projections that we have taken upon us by other people, kind of those sort of characters that we have been painted into, or the roles we have been expected to fill in our lives and within our families and our culture and our community. These untruths or almost kind of just versions of the truth that we have circulating around within. This is a very important chakra to work on, to create that and maintain that balance. Who am I really versus who have I kind of been expected to be? Who have I sort of fallen into this habit or pattern of being, and who would I like to become? When the throat chakra is really cleared, it's something where strength can be very quiet. This doesn't have to be somebody out there, singing from the top of the mountains and declaring themselves. This is something where, again, we teach people how to treat us through our actions often, through what we tolerate and welcome in versus what we kind of close the door to. And so that communication, that truth can be very quiet. Silence can definitely be a form of power that is really tied into this throat chakra energy. Oftentimes less is more, and this doesn't mean being a doormat. It doesn't mean people pleasing. It means advocating for oneself, speaking one's personal truth. That can be in the form of words or actions. And the next one that we have is this amethyst, and this represents the third eye chakra. This is that place of intuition. This is that place of visions, of that psychic energy, of that sensation that we get, kind of that knowing that we get. This is the I perceive. This is the I know center. This can really speak about, trusting kind of our instincts, what we pick up on energetically. Situations and people speak volumes before, words are even spoken. This can really talk about coming into this place of balance, specifically within this chakra, is trusting those kind of those sort of nudges or those inclinations, those instincts, those gut instincts that you get about people. And we hear gut instincts and we think that it really resides in kind of these lower chakras. And oftentimes it can be really kind of felt or experienced there is like a tightness in the stomach or a sense of uneasiness, maybe even some anxiety that happens in kind of the heart or the throat chakra. But all of that is really, it's perceived, it's sort of taken in, the sense that's made out of it in this third eye chakra, the pineal gland. It's something where there's a perception, there's an antenna about circumstances, about the energy of people and situations we encounter that really introduce themselves before we have had the chance to kind of get that sort of tactile experience or information. By bringing this chakra into a state of balance, we are trusting and we are honoring and acknowledging that intuition without letting logic kind of interfere and sort of talk us off the ledge. And this doesn't mean to kind of operate in the realm of paranoia, but it really is encouragement of, trust that intuition, trust that first response, trust that initial kind of feeling or sensation that one gets as far as, is this a situation that will benefit my life? Is this kind of an energy or a circumstance or a person that is going to kind of add to the measure of my existence? Or is this kind of symptomatic of a repeat pattern? Is this a similar archetype kind of showing up in a different guise, in a different kind of vessel, as a different person? It's this place within us that kind of anticipates maybe these sort of repeating cycles within us and tries to give those kind of forewarnings. You're going the wrong way. You're headed down a repetitive path. It's that place within us that perceives crossroads and opportunities. And it is very silent, it is very subtle, and yet at the same time, it to me speaks the loudest of all of these chakras. And it's the one that we are really, I think that we have the greatest trouble kind of honoring this part of ourself. A lot of our distortions also exist within this plane, where we have really been kind of enculturated to sort of dismiss instinct, to dismiss that intuition, because there's no sort of tangible or logical evidence or explanation that makes us feel that way, and we try and second guess that or kind of talk ourselves around it. So definitely a way to kind of bring balance into yourself through this chakra is, again, trust that inner knowing, seek that guidance within, rather than kind of needing that sort of external validation at all times, that there's a fount of wisdom and knowing within oneself, this untapped potential. And this is also a place where kind of timelessness exists as well, that can help us to really sort of plan our escape from kind of the immediate circumstances that we are in. And even if that is just kind of cultivating the gratitude for what we have and carrying that forth with us into kind of the future elements of our reality. Finally, at the top of this chakra tree, we've got the clear quartz, and this really represents that crown chakra. This is the crown of creation. This is that place, that aperture where we are in touch with our higher self, where we are in touch with source consciousness. This is something where, this is the place where downloads happen. This is the place where kind of that intuitive sort of energy comes from. A lot of this really ties in with sort of this Kundalini energy as well, which sort of fires up here from the root chakra, from the base of the spine, and climbs this chakra tree, only to then circulate back around like the idea of an Ouroboros, kind of up the tree and down the tree. So we are both taking information in from source consciousness, cosmic consciousness, our higher self, and that is really mingling with kind of this vital life force energy that we have housed within us. It's this blending, it's this merging of these things. This crown chakra energy is just the energy of I am, period. I am all things, I am nothing, I am everything, I am whatever I want to be. It is that place of inspiration, is that place of potential. It is that place of the true projection of these efforts and this work and this balance out. It is that ripple. This is that beacon within self. And this really, to bring this into a place of balance, really speaks to not underestimating the impact that we each have upon kind of our environment, that we have upon our community, that we have upon the lives that are, we touch. Just as much as people have had an impact upon us, we have an impact upon others. This is that place where, we seek to kind of leave that legacy, even if it is something very immediate, to make the world the better place, to become that change that we wish to experience, to become that love we wish to experience, to become that healing we wish to experience. This is where kind of that internal work, that manifestation of all these things is then kind of spread. It's then kind of sent out. This is that cosmic beacon that puts us again in kind of this greater sort of awareness with who we are beyond kind of the physical constructs, beyond the stories that we tell ourselves. Beyond kind of the wounding and the experiences that we have that have kind of led to these sort of neurological aspects of self that have really led to kind of these distortions within us, that we seek to create this balance. This is where we are freed from all of that. We are in that place of greatest expression, and we're also kind of the signals that we put out are responded to, are answered to in kind. This is our place of connection with the whole. And when this chakra is really optimized and unblocked and really flowing to its greatest capacity, it helps to give us that wider perspective, and also that very minute perspective. This can almost be sort of that gauge, that place where we are able to diagnose within ourself what is kind of out of balance, what needs to be worked with. It's that place that allows us to recognize the whole and to flow through all of that without getting caught up in the minutia, in the details, in kind of, one particular area. And as far as that balance of the masculine and feminine energies is concerned, it is really something that, is endeavored as a whole. It is very individualistic. It is something which changes and evolves with time. it flows and it moves, and this energy that we, really kind of generate and that we focus purely through attention on these centers, on these concepts, on these elements of self. It both activates the greatest potential in these kind of centers and these kind of apparatus within ourself and these mechanisms and expressions within ourself. And it also really helps to kind of unearth some of that difficulty, the density, the blockages, the contradictions that we hold within ourself. To me, this crown chakra is really, it's a place of courage that no matter what sort of surfaces, no matter what kind of densities or obstructions really come through in all of this, this gives us kind of that foresight to see our way through that, to see our way beyond the work, beyond kind of the darkness and the difficulty, not even to really be focusing on kind of a point of healing and wholeness as that horizon we are striving for, but allows us to take in the totality of that element of give and take, of pressure and release, of friction and flow. And to understand that that element of this and that is what sort of makes up this very fluid fabric of who we are, and really kind of the nature and dynamic of reality. So for me personally, I do like to address kind of all of these chakras and at various times. If I'm feeling really blocked by something, very confused by something is triggered, something really comes up, taking that moment of time to really just settle and to just examine kind of where am I feeling this? Where are these sensations coming up? What are kind of these root sort of things? Are these fears? Are these frustrations? Is this longing? Is this hope? Is this hopelessness? And then just kind of from this very broad sense of keyword, identifying, and there's no right or wrong. This is often things that can occupy and flow through many of these centers. Where is this originating from? Where is this really tying into? What is this really demonstrating thematically or archetypally as something within me that needs to be kind of worked or released or come to terms with, or really embraced into the whole of who I am, rather than resisted and fought to just be kind of brought into that fold, into that fabric of individuality. Oftentimes then I will work specifically with the colors that are associated with these particular chakras. This can be meditation with any of these individual crystals, and then just, if you've seen my pick a card readings, I've got quite a crystal collection, some of which I have found, some of which I have had for many decades, some of which are kind of new to my crystal family, but it's something where it's a variety of kind of colors, and it's a variety of kind of properties and textures. Some are more raw, some are more, kind of organic. There are others which are more smooth and that, have a particular shape. And it's something where I just very intuitively kind of feel into, what do I need to work with today? This is something which is really, held during meditation. Some of these I keep, kind of by my bed at certain periods of time to really just, tap into and set that intention of, please help me work through kind of these energetic aspects while I am sleeping, have this kind of as something that is just sort of running in the background, and crystals they're a very good kind of visual, especially as far as color therapy is concerned. Beyond even just using crystals, I oftentimes will kind of incorporate some of these colors into what I'm wearing. If it's possible to incorporate some foods that are of this kind of these particular color ranges into my diet over a particular period of time or a particular day. And it's really hard to say. It's kind of like a chicken or the egg, and there's all kinds of different sort of theories and explanation. This and that are true. It's kind of like sort of the homeopathic benefits of these things, and a lot of that could just be kind of that power of suggestion, setting that intention, putting that out there to the universe, doing my part in kind of these little ways to really announce that, to really kind of co-create with that as best as I can, to move into that space of flow and surrender and kind of acceptance of that process, to do what I can to kind of work through that, and at the same time to allow sort of the higher forces, my spirit guides, my ancestors, my angels, to kind of assist me with that. Really it's the idea of we have to ask for help. We have to know to be able to request that. And so kind of working with color, working with crystals, setting those intentions, being very mindful of self, and not just kind of taking observation of that, but then through prayer, through meditation, through conscious contact with spirit and with one's spirit team, can really help to kind of initiate that reciprocity of like, here I'm acknowledging this thing within myself, and let's work through this, help me work through this. Because there are definitely energetic nooks and crannies within us that we are only able to kind of dig so deep with our human tools and with our kind of biology. A lot of this is in the realm of energy. It is beyond our scope of understanding. It is beyond the scope of what we are able to touch and access. And so a lot of that kind of balancing, it is effort on our part, but then also kind of in a larger sense, a lot of that is setting that intention, making that request, praying for that guidance, asking for that help from what we connect with outside of the bounds of who we are biologically, to really welcome and invite that into ourself, and to be very mindful of these things. Again, it's not something that needs to, it's not always daily work. It's not always, okay, where in this chakra tree am I sensing something? There's ebbs and there's flows. There's periods of time where things will come up very intensely. Things will be triggered very intensely, leaning into that process. If you're feeling very emotional, if you're feeling like there's a catharsis that needs to happen, how does that need to be expressed? Sometimes for some people, even myself included, this can be turning on music and just singing, to just really kind of unblock some of that energy, to get that force flowing through the throat chakra. This can be journaling as well, as a very beautiful way to kind of get those sort of forces in motion. The heart chakra can often talk about profound emotions of joy, extending that, expressing gratitude for the relationships and for the people in our lives, not just waiting for the special opportunity, the holidays or the birthdays, but letting the people that matter to you know, I see you and I appreciate your presence. I am very grateful for you in my life, and you have added to the measure of my life in a very beautiful way. Sometimes this element of catharsis is, just the overwhelming urge to cry or to even be frustrated, a need to vent. If you don't have a safe space to vent, again, journaling can be very helpful for that. Artwork can be very helpful for that. These lower chakras, yoga is very beneficial for these lower chakras, particularly the root chakra, coming into the body, coming into the self, that sense of, getting out of kind of that mental space and that sort of that energy of worry, coming very much into the present, very much in the sense of, I am safe, I am here, I am now in this moment. I feel myself, I feel my physical vessel. I acknowledge that I am a spiritual being having a human experience. And in this moment, I am very much focused on my own humanity, for its kind of potential and its limits. Holding space within us for that creates, this very momentary and yet at the same time, this very profound balancing of those aspects of self. Again, this idea of the creativity with the sacral chakra, and really seeking out, well, obviously for me personally, if you've been on my Etsy shop, I make jewelry. That's one of the ways in which I really tap into this creative potential. I'm also a writer and a painter. So for me, these are very kind of crucial elements of how I honor that aspect of myself, how I create that balance within self. I honor that creative force and that creative flow within me. Cooking and baking are also things which are very kind of important for me, and it's something that is a form of my creative expression. That is the way in which I do this. Historically, in kind of the earlier part of my life, I was very much somebody who was like, going according to the recipe, was very intimidated by the idea of kind of free flowing and improvising. And it's something that really, after my own personal spiritual awakening, and as I've kind of worked through and kind of, it's an ongoing process of sort of this place of balance within myself, I found that I really am very much outside of the box with my creativity. It's a lot less pressure that I put on myself because I'm open to the idea of, say, cooking by scent, recipes being mere suggestions at this point in time, certain structures and frameworks that one must follow. But again, adding into that kind of creative license, that poetic license, where you can improvise, you can kind of adjust things, you can make things different, you can kind of combine all these different sort of elements. It's very much like a form of art. It's very much a form of therapy. It very much is a form of, it helps to kind of infuse sort of this creative life force and this energy and this love very much into something that is a tangible and kind of a tactile experience that then can be shared with others. Even if I'm just cooking for myself, it's that same kind of mindfulness. It's making sure to be in kind of that, and we can't always make sure of this, but definitely making the effort to carve out time for, putting yourself in that good mindset, having that music that makes you feel good in the background, not looking at cooking or something that you make as kind of a form of drudgery, but really infusing that food, that meal that you are about to partake with love and with gratitude and with blessings, that being an ingredient as well. Kind of in the idea as well about balance within oneself, the healing journey. It's this element of kind of, as my analogy of sort of the person who was always kind of following recipes and was very sort of pressured by all of that, versus kind of the state that I'm in now, which is very much in a state of flow and acceptance and kind of, experimentation and just open to kind of the what if as far as the things that I cook. But it's something to where, that experience, it's an opportunity to kind of not just feed and nourish the body, but to kind of give voice, give form, and to feed and nourish that creative kind of urge, that power within myself. To create something that is a work of art, even if it's just kind of a simple meal, a simple pasta dish, that can be definitely a work of art in and of itself. Finding little ways, just little things to do. Maybe it's in, how you put your makeup on, how you are dressing, how you are kind of, you have your house, or your apartment or your room organized. It's the way in which you are, preparing your food. It's the way in which you're plating your food. It's creativity that even if it's something where you don't take it out in kind of a broad sense, you're creating just for yourself. All of these things can be very good at kind of balancing this aspect within self, this creative, this sacral chakra, kind of opening up the idea of creativity beyond just, say, giving birth or creating a child, but looking at it in terms of, it's a creative energy that can flow into even just the most mundane things, how you make your coffee, how you make your tea, how you are kind of moving through the world. All of these things are creativity, and even in kind of a larger sense, really planning for the future. Sort of taking the raw materials of what you have and sort of employing that in a larger sense. With the third eye chakra, this is definitely, divination, even just for oneself. This is a very kind of crucial way to sort of get in touch with and to honor those psychic abilities, those psychic gifts within self. Obviously I've got this channel here, so this is one way that I really kind of endeavor and sort of delve into this. But then there are other ways that are, outside of the realm of kind of the videos that I create, the content that I create, that really taps into that kind of psychic knowing, that psychic kind of ability, honoring that nudge within myself, cultivating those gifts within me, recognizing when maybe in the past, the tendency with the over-logical mind would have been to kind of dismiss these things, leaning instead into an area of trust in what's coming through, trust in the not knowing, recognizing and acknowledging, giving voice to these aspects and elements within me that have really kind of grown, that have come online, that are a part of who I am. It makes up the fabric of who I am, rather than keeping that very segmented or something that is just kind of a compartmentalized version of who I am. This is very much part of my dominant kind of personality. This is my reality. This is something that, people that know me in my personal life, they know this about me. This is nothing that is hidden. This is nothing that is, kind of a closeted part of my reality. And it's something which not everybody kind of understands that, but it's not their journey to understand. This is my path. This is who I am. This is what I have chosen for this lifetime. This is the call that I have answered. And it's something where, kind of incorporating that part of myself into more of, that intuitive part of myself, those psychic gifts within myself into more of my dominant reality creates that balance within self. So for you, that can come in a variety of forms. Maybe this is something where, you start a channel, you start creating some sense of community for that. You start exploring these things. Maybe it's even you pick up a tarot deck for yourself, or any other kind of form of divination that you're drawn to. And you do that. You pull a card a week or a card a day, and that's kind of your theme. That's what you're sort of looking for within yourself. You're keeping a dream journal. You're honoring these parts of you. You're trusting these parts of you. Not seeking to really get all the answers and kind of scratch beneath the surface and to deduce everything, but opening oneself up to that place of receptivity of what comes through. And how that is really then able to be kind of utilized later, how that kind of reveals itself later. The same kind of thing with the crown chakra here, and just meditation is a very crucial way to kind of acknowledge that. It's the acknowledgement of the higher self, even that kind of conversation, even recognizing that I, in a very broad sense, exists outside of the flesh. It exists outside of kind of the identity, the personality, the name you are known by. I am more than me. In my sense, I am more than Bevin. You are more than you. It's just, there's the you is something that is very undefinable. It is very kind of nebulous. It is very something that shifts, and even through a lifetime of kind of exploration and study, it's something which I believe that we can only really in our lifetime sort of fathom only a fraction of that. So opening up to that space of unknowing and that receptivity, that at different points in time we will become acquainted with different aspects of ourself in a more intimate level. As far as this solar plexus chakra energy, this is really the space of opportunity. This is really the space of courage. For myself personally, this has been the place of, taking those steps, coming more out of kind of this instinct historically to just be in that sort of observant energy, to kind of sort of dim my own light, to be very doubtful of self. And this is, the willingness to kind of take a chance, to put oneself out there, to step outside of the comfort zone in different ways. Sometimes that's very uncomfortable. Sometimes it's very elating. But it's the willingness to sort of take a chance, take a risk, not in the sense of, being very kind of foolish or impulsive, but understanding that on the other side of fear is often the opportunity to grow and to learn very profoundly. And so this is definitely a chakra which it presents to us our own kind of internal barriers, our own internal sort of blockades. And it is also the invitation to kind of stretch those lines and those perimeters of what we think we are capable of, what we think we know about ourselves, what we think that our life is really meant to be, and the map that we have kind of decided for ourselves up to this point, to open up to the possibility of a new route, rerouting ourselves, expanding those borders, expanding those horizons, maybe even kind of, establishing new borders and barriers with people that may have had too much access to us at one point in time, kind of refining that, refining through discernment, sort of what we allow into ourself. That is another form of empowerment. It doesn't just need to be a projecting outward, it's a pulling within. It's a recognizing of this is my worth and this is my value. And it is something where, what may have just been very free flowing access is now kind of, it is harnessed. It is kept within. It is sort of kept back. It is something where, it does not need to be given so freely. It does not need to be given so widely, but it is something which, can be almost distilled back into myself. So in terms of kind of just the last kind of element here, and then I'll pull a few cards. I know I've been talking for almost an hour, channeling for almost an hour, so if you're still here in this video, thank you. I hope that you're getting something out of this. But another really important way, and something that personally that I utilize to kind of create that balance of the masculine and feminine polarities within self, which I do feel is very intimately tied with, again, these 7 main chakras, is Reiki. I have found that to be very beneficial in terms of, you know, just kind of energy healing that kind of gets into these sort of subtle layers of self. It really helps to kind of pull away some of those blockages, kind of pull back the veil a little bit about elements of ourself as it is expressed in different ways, that is obstructing almost the truest expression of our authenticity. And so some of you may be really being called to get certified in Reiki, to learn about that, to become a Reiki practitioner, a Reiki healer. Others of you, you know, you may be really called to seek somebody out of that nature, somebody who has that certification. And this is something which it can be very subtle, it can be very cumulative. I've had people that have experienced different things. I'm certified in Reiki, but what I mostly practice, it's known as quantum energy healing. So it takes in kind of the tenets of Reiki, the energy of Reiki, but kind of the way that I sort of deal with energy healing, it's something that is a little more kind of cosmic in origin, cosmic in nature. So it's kind of a blending of these things, which is why I would define it as quantum energy healing. But people that have experienced that with me, it's definitely something that they have become kind of illuminated to elements within themselves. They can kind of feel it in particular chakras, which then kind of opens the door for them to sort of do their own explanation. That it's kind of, you know, your body will sort of take in everything that it needs, and it will direct that energy into the appropriate place. So, you know, doing Reiki on oneself, getting Reiki from another person can really help to identify kind of the areas within self that you know, because it's not everything that needs to be kind of balanced all at once. It can be different things that need to kind of be addressed at particular periods of time. So that might be something that you could find very helpful to just sort of put that focus on. Again, maybe color therapy, working with particular crystals, eating foods of this color. There's different kind of yogic practices that really tap into particular chakra centers. There are different sort of kind of binaural beats. I know there's a lot of free ones on YouTube that deal with the particular chakra centers, that kind of like working on and addressing sort of the deficiencies or the blockages in particular areas can help to get that energy just flowing in a very smooth manner. And it can really help to, you know, again, with this idea kind of the balancing of masculine and feminine polarities and energies, I personally feel that a lot of it, it can be addressed head on, but it's something that it really comes in a very subtle manner. It almost happens when you're not looking for it. It's kind of very similar to the law of attraction and manifestation, where you set that intention, you kind of, you know, you employ that focus, and then you need to release and allow. That's a lot of how this balancing happens. And again, it's very fluid. It's a never kind of ending process, that at different points in time, different stages of our lives and different kind of even times of our day, or when dealing with different people, it's something where it's going to take a lot of self-observation to recognize our trends and tendencies, to identify these areas within self that might really be the genesis for why maybe more of our distorted aspects within self, a need to kind of hide away, or even an explosiveness within us really is prompted. It's through that period of kind of collecting of data, collecting of information, and sort of working through the areas within ourself that maybe the gasket is a little bit off, maybe it's a little rusted, maybe it's a little too loose, and that causes kind of that explosiveness, or kind of that need to almost like retract, or to not you know, speak our truth, which then leaves us in a place of kind of ruminating and sort of stuck in these cycles and trends. that it's very cumulative, it's something that's very progressive, it's something that over time this is experienced and it's achieved. It's a never-ending kind of process, and it's something that the flow of that energy in kind of the structure and framework and even beyond this idea of the chakra system can definitely be endeavored. So Reiki, highly recommend that, you know, and even something as simple as kind of a massage therapy. I know that kind of just deals with tissue and muscles, but it definitely, if you are cognizant of energy, if you're already kind of working with energy, that can, in my own personal experience, I've recently I got my second massage ever recently, and it was something where I was quite amazed at kind of the effect that was having in terms of bringing my focus to particular sort of like chakras and areas of my energetic system. That I wasn't even really aware at this particular time that like had something that needed to be worked on. So from personal experience, I can really recommend that as kind of like part of this whole system. It's really worth carving out that time. It's a very beautiful gift to give to oneself. It's definitely something which can help in self-care in general. And then it also helps on an energetic level to be able to, you know, maybe kind of scratch beneath the surface of one's perception and to notice like, hey, this particular region, you know, I'm noticing something, I'm feeling something within there, something was released, something was moved during that whole process. And then that can really help you to like focus on one particular area, these little kind of chunks as you're sort of bouncing around and moving through kind of this larger energetic system and kind of that larger kind of idea of both the light and shadow aspects of the masculine and feminine energies within self. So I'm going to pull just a few cards to kind of round out this reading here. Okay, we've got the moon, rainbow moonstone. My intuition guides me to the right decision. So this is a feminine energy here, that idea of intuition, that inner knowing, that to really first and foremost a crucial element of that balance between masculine and feminine energies within self is that idea of self-diagnosis. It's the idea of self-observation. It's the idea of kind of trusting the direction in which you are led in terms of what do I need to work on within myself? What ways am I holding back or kind of dimming my light in order to make others feel comfortable? That part of that is really to identify that part of self and then to sort of balance it out by taking measures in whatever small or large way you're really feeling inclined to bring that more out to the surface, more into your dominant personality, more of who you are. Maybe you're somebody who has a tendency to kind of hold back expressing your true feelings because you don't want to disappoint others, kind of a tendency toward people pleasing. You know, and this can be something where to counteract that, you are focusing instead on establishing those firm boundaries, establishing, you know, speaking your mind, speaking your truth. Even if it hurts other people, even if it's not what other people want to hear, you're honoring that part of yourself. Exploration into those internal realms, journaling, dreams are also very important. Setting that intention before you go to sleep, or just in kind of a general sense with your spirit guides and your angels and your passed on loved ones. Show me the ways in which I need to work on some things. Taking note of what comes through in dreams, the characters who show up, people from your past, you know, even dreams that might be kind of unpleasant. This can be something which really ties in and sort of points the way to some distortions within self that sort of hold the key to unlocking a greater element of balance within you. Taking note of these things, looking beyond the literal meaning, beyond even kind of the common kind of like the psychological or psychiatric kind of Freudian ideas about dreams and kind of the standard sort of interpretation of kind of the manifestation of the unconscious, of the subconscious. Sometimes it's that, but it can also really tie into things that are energetically going on or needing to be addressed within self. So thinking again, kind of more broadly outside of the box, stretching those parameters and really seeing, you know, what else is in here for me beyond just kind of of a montage of images and experiences from my day or from my life or from my reality. And we've also got Queen of Wands, yellow calcite. I am naturally creative. So this is beautiful that this is the other card that came out, because this is definitely that Wands energy, that fire energy, that solar plexus chakra, and that sacral chakra energy. This really ties into kind of that masculine polarity. And so this can really tie into getting some creative inspiration by what comes through in dreams, what is kind of swimming around within you, not fearing the shadow within self, but recognizing the gold that exists within there, that you do have the ability to use the raw materials of who you are in your perfect imbalanced state and creating something of that. The greatest work of art you will ever work on is yourself. So it is definitely worth the effort. It is definitely worth the time to really explore these things. To not necessarily shy away from the difficulties that are not wanting to be faced, from kind of the shadows that might be sort of hidden away, or you know, things that have been projected upon us, the stories others have told us of who we are, how we have shown up in different periods of our life compared to who we would like to be in the future. Utilizing all of this as the raw material for change is definitely a beautiful way of kind of creating that transcendence within self, understanding that you always have the ability to kind of rewrite your story, to rewrite the narrative for yourself, rewrite the script. And it's something which takes work. It takes courage. It's something which at times will come very easily. It will come effortlessly. It will just seem to flow. Other times it will feel like an uphill battle. But, you know, kind of these distortions that exist within us are just as important as kind of the healed and ascended aspects of self. So really the goal, instead of kind of banishing or extinguishing these parts of ourself, is to come into a greater kind of acceptance and awareness of the whole of who we are. And it is through that awareness of both our kind of our strengths and our deficits that we are able to then learn to work with these tools, learn to work with these circumstances, learn to work with these kind of characteristics and aspects of ourselves in order to create that kind of ever-changing flow of balance. Okay, and we also have indigo. The person you're inquiring about is an indigo, meaning a highly sensitive, natural-born leader. So again, this is more of that kind of feminine energy, that intuitive energy, that inner knowing. This is definitely with that indigo. You know, it's tying into that third chakra, the third eye chakra, that kind of the visions, the psychic sense. Trust that. Trust where your own particular intuition is leading you, as far as modalities, as far as aspects and elements of yourself that need to be brought into a place of balance, things that need to be kind of moved beyond, things that need to be kind of let go. Really trusting that, navigating and being confident in your ability to kind of chart your own course through this process, that at different times and at different kind of phases of your life and in different aspects of your reality, it's going to require different elements of yourself, different kind of energies, different bits of concentration. Really trusting in that, trusting in your ability to kind of utilize, to work with what you have and to really make the most of that. And we've also got manifestation power. Use your spiritual gifts and natural abilities to attract your desired outcome. So more of that sort of sacral chakra and solar plexus chakra energy. So again, this is very beautiful. Again, another kind of masculine energy here. So, you know, this is really tying into that concept of both that element of duality, that masculine and feminine energy, but then also kind of that quadrilateral energy that I was mentioning, the light and shadow aspects of each of these components that we hold within us. So a way to really balance that is to not just look at it as either or, but it's all of this. We all hold all of this within ourselves. And we have the ability to utilize these raw materials within us, not to extinguish certain parts of ourselves, but maybe to just kind of set up barriers or limitations or restraints, part of our kind of shadow aspects, these distortions and these wounds, these deficits within ourselves that have been playing too major of a role within us, have been thwarting things or have been keeping us in a place of lack or a perception of limitation, muzzling these things, silencing these things, so that other parts of ourself these courageous parts, these very unique parts, these very quirky parts, these very knowing parts of ourself that we may have really hidden away, allowing these to come to the surface more, to be expressed in our dominant reality, in our dominant personality more, creating space for this and that, a variety of activities, whatever it is you are really drawn to, but in some way recognizing, tapping into, harnessing these energies and understanding that all of these energies, no matter what chakra they are in, they seek some kind of conscious expression. Whether this is something that you do through art or through writing that is simply kept for yourself, whether this is something you are going public with, something that you are sharing with others to help others or to just kind of give voice to that creativity. Whether this is something in the form of, your interpersonal relationships and how you are expressing yourself, how kind of the rules that maybe had been established, how you were showing up in these connections, you're rewriting those rules, you're changing the game between you and other people, you raise the bar in some way, and what may have stood, what you may have tolerated before, that shifts and it evolves and it changes in some way, really honoring that kind of inner inclination, using that heart as the compass. What is the direction that you are being most called into in order to feel very confident and very comfortable with kind of the full range of who you are? And it's something where it's a never-ending process. It's an ever-evolving process. And again, kind of based on sort of the suggestions, what I've shared personally, and what's really come through here today in this reading, hopefully that this will inspire each of you in your own way to maybe explore some things further, things that you had kind of dismissed, had not given much kind of credit to. Maybe it will help you see them in a different way. Even things like your intuitive knowing, your psychic sense, definitely, kind of breathing more life into that, giving that more of a forum in whatever way that is applicable for you, that can help to bring balance into whatever aspects of yourself up to this point in time have been kind of the dominant manifestation of your personality. It's the idea of almost bringing the inside out, that for a lot of you, that may be something that you need to really work on. Carving out time in your day, creating space for yourself, a safe space, a forum, finding a community, creating community, where different aspects of you can really be known. That who you've been up to this point in time, that is also a state which is fluid. It is something which can change. You have the ability to kind of transcend your own limitations, and the only limits really exist within one's own perception of self. So really, in a general sense, in terms of balancing those masculine and feminine polarities within self, those energies within self, it is an invitation to exceed the concept of limitations, to exceed the concept of constraint or restraint, and to step into this realm of limitlessness. Allow your imagination to kind of evolve and to open up. Take kind of the raw materials that you have, your experiences, the life you have created for yourself, and really sift through it piece by piece. Does this work? Does this fit with who I am? Does this feel good? Does this feed me in the same way that I feed it? Is this something that I choose to kind of bring forth with me into the future? Can this continue? Will this continue to benefit me in the long run? Or does this only hold me back from the greatest expression of my authenticity and the creation of kind of the future that I want for myself? Some of these decisions may be very hard, things which may need to be kind of cut away or sort of muted within yourself. It can be very scary and very kind of unnerving to bring parts of yourself that you've felt shame about, or that you have felt were judged, or were kind of these elements of yourself that you had considered kind of deficiencies, or that they were bad, or that these were negative things, to kind of look at those from a new vantage point and to bring those out into more of your dominant reality in a new way. It's something that may take baby steps. It may be something that is very, kind of a slow progress, but even one step in kind of a new direction from the way you have been headed, one step closer toward observing yourself, learning your innate nature, all those nooks and crannies of who you are, enables you to better work with these energies and to kind of reconfigure and reformulate the idea you have about who you are, kind of why you are here in this lifetime, and sort of how you can utilize all of the interesting and intricate and beautiful facets of who you are to your greatest advantage, and in order to kind of actualize your greatest potential here and now. So those are your messages, and I hope that you enjoyed the reading. If you would like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled love letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. And yeah, thank you if you have stuck with this video for, let's see, an hour and 13 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you again to the subscriber who recommended this topic. I really enjoyed doing this video, so thank you. Please take care and be well.